Thank you everybody. Good morning. I'm very excited to share with you on this fantastic topic of employee engagement. How many of you here are from HR? Raise your hands. How many of you are not from HR? So you have to leave the room, sorry, because it's only for HR. That's a joke. Of course it is not. And I'm going to try to prove that to you today. It's interesting because we are here, on my right, Gallup. This is a view on engagement surveys and these kind of things, you know, to measure everything. And on my left, it's another vision of engagement, because engagement is also something like that, you know, and I will try to prove that as well today, that engagement is really a wide topic that encompasses a lot of things. So let's go to the slides now. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to pass you 5 messages today. Only 5, because it's only 20 minutes. In fact, 15 now. 5 messages, 5 takeaways. It's not 5 tips. It's not 5 things you should do to engage people, because that you can find in all the books on earth, including mine. So it's more about HR practitioner advice on how to deal with engagement for yourself and for your organizations. I think the first message is that engagement is not about satisfaction and motivation. Not at all. Not at all. Why? Well, satisfaction. If you look for job security, okay, you want a stable job, you want good working conditions, you want a decent salary level for yourself and for your employees, you want good relationship with other, polite relationship, I would say, not more, not less, and you want a personal life which is happy, etc. You are not engaged. Sorry to say that. You are just and only satisfied. That's a good start, but you are not engaged. Bad news. So, if you have a job, interesting job, if you have an interesting career development, if you have a recognition and reward from your company, you know, you do something, you get some reward, you get some responsibility, you grow personally, sorry to announce as well that you are not still engaged, you are just motivated. It's not too bad as well, you know, satisfied, motivated, there's something happening now. So it's better for your health, by the way, to be motivated than not motivated. So you will tell me, what's about engagement? Well, you can find millions of books on the topic, and mine is just another one in addition, and each of us, we bring in these books what we think are the most important in engagement. This is my translation. For me, the 5 topics, the 5 key topics that justify engagement and define engagement is, first of all, the extra effort, the famous extra mile you can find in other books. You know, you are proud and you really to invest in your company and to support your company. You do a bit more than the job description, that's one. Second, emotional connection. You are bounded emotionally to your company. You know, when you go outside of the company, you speak about your company, you are proud of it, and you say my, you don't say they. This is different. You know, when you ask your friends talking about their job, do they say they have put in place a new policy or we have put in place a new policy? This makes a difference. So you can assess engagement around you very easily, talking to your friends at home on the weekend. Third one, my preferred one, the ownership. Ownership changes everything. How many of you here have rent a car in your life? You don't have a car, you rent a car to go from point A to point B. You never rent a car, driving a car? Okay, if you rent a car, when you arrive at the point of destination, are you washing the car or not? No, you throw the keys on the counter and that's it. You are satisfied to be in this car, you are motivated to drive this car to go from A to B, but it's not yours. You're not going to wash it. If it's your car, everybody in the family will wash in the weekend the car and it will be bright all the time. That's ownership. When you have ownership on your company, on your desk, on your team, on your office, on everything happening around you, you are the owner. And it changes everything because you are not asking for something in exchange. You're not asking any rewards. I would like to say that engagement is for free. Of course, when you are in HR, if people are engaged, you have to give some rewards. But it's not the same scenario as motivation. Motivation, you do something, you do an effort, and you ask for a reward. That's bonus systems, these kind of things. Engagement, you feel engaged, because it's yours, and then you might get a reward or not. But you are engaged anyway. That makes a difference. The belief in goals and values, that's a very important one as well. You fully support the values and the goals of your company. That's better. If you don't believe in what the CEO is going to achieve, then it's a problem. You don't feel really engaged. You just do your job and that's it. And the last one, very importantly, a meaningful journey. You feel really great when this company has a great purpose and not only doing the budget and having a nice P&L, but also reaching a new frontier and these kind of things. So this is my definition. You can find many of these, but this is for me the 5 criteria. We'll come back to that later on this definition. So now, this is a test now. How many of you here feel disengaged at work in their job today? Nobody is answering usually. You do? Really? Oh, can we talk later? How many of you could be more engaged? They are engaged, but it could be better, by definition. How many of you feel engaged? Most of you in HR. In HR, you must be engaged, otherwise there's a real problem. If the HR is not engaged, there's a real issue. And how many of you, and this is the taboo topic, are over-engaged, too much engaged? Aha, nobody's answering there. I'm sure. Normally it's a ghost curve. Normally you have 10% disengaged, 10%, you know. So some of you lie today. They don't say the truth to me, okay? Never mind. So, by the way, message number 2, who is in charge of engagement? Is it HR? Is it somebody else? Who is it? Well, for me, it's 4 people. 4 actors who should be engaging or engaged. First of all, the organization, and you are, as HR, the pillar of this. You are the one in HR who builds strategies and policies to make engagement happen. So the organization, your company, is an actor to engage employees, of course, to build a nice employee value proposition, to build a great employer branding, to have a nice culture, a nice organization model. And by the way, organizations who are decentralized sometimes are more engaging than the ones who are top-down centralized. That's also a fact. We cannot develop more, but that's something that's the way you are organized in a company makes or doesn't make engagement. That's also a key topic, and sometimes we forget about that. Then you have the manager, of course, the leader, the manager, the engaging manager, okay? Well, this is the most difficult job on earth to be a manager because you have to import stress and export energy, you know. You are asked to import all the stress, all the contradictions, all the confusion, all the paradoxes of the company, making the budget, having people engaged, I mean, completely in the middle of everything, and then you have to be completely engaged yourself and engaging for the others. Wow, superhero. And as HR, your first job is to help managers to be good managers, okay? And that's why you're paid for in HR. Then you have the team, of course, and I think the team, sometimes we say the manager and the team is the same topic. No, I think the team as well has a life. You know, when the manager is taking the flight away to traveling or holiday, what is doing the team? Are they stopping working, just waiting for the manager to come back? Or are they doing the minimum? Are they really engaged and they have a solidarity among themselves that makes that they are really a good team? They have connections, they have a team life, and something is happening in this team. There's that diversity, inclusion, multicultural, etc. So that's something very interesting. You should work as well on the teams. Not only the manager and the team, cut the manager, just the team. What happens? What can you do to help teams to be a team? That's also a topic that few companies address. I think it's a key topic. And the last one is my favorite one. And I think nobody in this room, I'm sure, is doing a lot of things to help employees themselves work about their own engagement, because the first actor of engagement is yourself. What do you do yourself, by the way, as an employee? Are you waiting that the manager is engaging enough to engage you? Oh, my manager is not engaging me, I'm not motivated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what about you? What are you doing every day? To have more mindfulness on that, more awareness, to work on what are my priorities in work and life, etc. By the way, I don't believe anymore in work-life balance. And that's something, it's too late for work-life balance. You know why? You know why it's too late? Because we live in a digital world, and in a digital world, it never stops. So we'd better educate people to learn how to do everything well, to prioritize, to manage time, to manage resources, to manage themselves, body and mind, rather than to say, okay, I'm taking my car in the morning, I'm going to work, and at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., I'm going back to life, you know? That's the famous work-life balance with the wall. That's too late for that. Come on, let's forget this work-life balance. I know it's a key topic in Singapore, but please don't speak about that anymore. I think it's not a topic. It's more how to manage everything well so that you feel engaged and happy. So I have designed a model, in fact, an engagement model, which is in the book. So I will not, it's too long to present, so I will show you a short video, 3 minutes. I hope the sound is okay. Short video to explain the model.
Bernard Coulati presents New Deal of Employee Engagement. Meet Annie. She feels tired and restless at her job and wishes to be more engaged at work. She talks to her colleague John, who says that it begins by understanding oneself. Everyone has 4 dimensions. The head, which needs to be intellectually engaged. The heart, to feel connected to people and the organization. The spirit, to fulfill a greater purpose. Lastly, the body, which needs physical wellness and energy. John explains that as Annie's 4 dimensions change, so will her levels of engagement, from just working for a living to having full ownership over her work. It's a balance. If her engagement level is too low, she will become detached and bored. Too high, and she could end up stressed out and unproductive. Furthermore, Annie's engagement takes place in different territories within herself, with her manager, the organisation, and society. Annie is curious and observes her colleagues for their levels of engagement. She notices 8 distinct profiles. At the lowest levels of engagement, she sees a colleague disconnected in heart and spirit. This is the destroyer, an actively negative person who delights in undermining co-workers. The checkouts, who are disengaged in the head and body, are passively negative and do their best to avoid work. Next, she notices colleagues who seem more motivated, but could be more engaged. The 9-to-5s arrive and leave the office on the dot. They do just enough, but not more. Then there's the dilemma, who somewhat enjoys her work, yet is not fully engaged due to some frustrations. At optimal levels of engagement, Annie sees the builder, who is energetic, loves his work and the people and organisation he works with. An alchemist is one step up, and Annie realises that John is one. An inspiration and role model, he has mastery of his work and is connected to the people around him. However, if an employee is over-engaged, he can either become a burnout, overworked and exhausted in the head and body, or a fanatic, addicted to work and overzealous in his heart and spirit, to the point where he drives everyone nuts. Annie realises that the understanding of these profiles is a great tool for everyone. John recommends this book.
We will stop the commercial part of it. I think that's not the point. Well, I mean, it's in this model I have designed 8 profiles, so you have time to see that in the book if you wish, or on my website as well. You can even do your own assessment for free on my website and to assess yourself in 100 questions and receive a free analysis of a profile. That's quite fun to do. The point here is really to say that, in fact, it's important to think about your own engagement as a person, and it's also important that organizations work on that and help people to be educated on, by the way, where am I today? What are my priorities in work, in life? What kind of engagement do I have with my family, with my job, with my team, with my environment, in fact, so that I can monitor it and master it in a great way. So, of course, I'm sure here in the room there's nobody who is a destroyer, but many, many of you are fanatics and maybe some burnouts, I'm sure, and from time to time. What is very important to understand is that engagement is mobile. You can feel absolutely engaged in the morning after breakfast when you go to work, and then at 11 a.m. your boss goes on you and says something not very nice, and you feel totally disengaged, and you want to leave this company, and you really want to kill your boss. That's normal. Don't go to see a doctor. It's completely normal. You can mobile in the day, you can have a different engagement in the week, in the months, in your whole life, and you have ups and downs. And it's not like personality, which is completely over after 6 years old. You can work on it a bit. Engagement is extremely mobile, so that's why it's a difficult topic to manage, and you have to be aware of what's happening. What is important to have in mind is that when you are HR, what you want to do, because your boss asks you to engage people, and how do you increase the level of engagement, so what do you do for that? In fact, most of you build an employer branding platform, you build an EVP, an employee value proposition with a nice, attractive culture, attractive policies. Okay, you attract candidates, come to our company, join us, you will grow, you will be well, we have a nice culture, you will grow your career. We all say that, we all say that to people. The problem is that the offer you give to them inside, is it a reality or not? Sometimes it's a reality, sometimes it's not a reality, and your job as HR is to fill the gap and to reduce the gap the more you can, it's never zero, between what you offer to people when they join the company and what the reality is. And the problem, we all know that, is that people don't leave a company, they leave someone. When something happening, it means the experience of this person is bad, which means the employer branding you have built is not a reality inside. And in this case, you have problems. because people leave you, or they can, worse than leaving, they stay. It's worse than leaving. I prefer to manage people who leave and replace them. I mean, imagine people stay, disengage. You know, okay, you can fire them. I know that in this part of the world, it's easier to do that in my part of the world. But even though it's difficult, you know, so it's really important to say that. You leave a manager, you leave a team, you leave a human culture in which you are not fit, and that's important also to have in mind. It's also important to have in mind that today there is a trend which is treating the employee as a customer, which means, you know, the employee is supposed to serve the customer outside the company. So you as an organization, you have the temptation to treat the employee as a customer, to serve the employee. What does he want? What should we do for them, especially for the millennials, you know, the famous millennials. What do they want, these babies, and what are we going to do for them, you know? Don't worry, they are going to leave anyway, huh? So whatever you do. I don't want to defeat you, but it's a fact. Well, I don't believe completely in this customer approach. I think it's good, but in the same time, it's not completely right. I mean, people also have some duties to do. It's not only about what you can do for people, it's also what people can do for the company. So it's not exactly as a client response, but still, in the employee experience conference you have around you today, you have a lot of topics around what is the experience of people inside the company and how can you build a better consumer experience by your employees. And there's a way to do it, which is analyzing your HR processes. That's what I'm doing for my clients usually. I try to set up to do an audit, to take all the HR processes from recruitment to talent development. So how do we attract people? How do we recruit them? What kind of onboarding do you have? You know, step by step, day by day, process by process. And the question here is, does this create this? You remember the definition of engagement earlier? Take your HR processes, you can do it at home, in fact, it's easy. You 2 columns or 3 columns, and you say, okay, if I look at the definition of engagement, I take my processes. First question, does this create a nice employee experience or not a nice one? And don't do a Gallup survey for that. You can use Gallup as well, but you can feel it as well yourself at the coffee machine, going in the company, wandering around, etc. You know what's happening. You know what people say. You know what managers say about this bloody performance review process, you know? They're complaining all the time because you as HR, you do too much paper, so you have to think about this as well. You know, we are in the area of sophisticated HR now, so we have to do something to make it easier. So is it a good experience or not? Are these systems increasing engagement or not? And each HR system could increase engagement or decrease engagement. For example, setting the goals for somebody, you know, these are your goals for next year, your objectives for next year. There's 2 ways to do it. A disengaging way, which is, okay, these are your objectives, see you next year. That's pretty much what we do. The manager gives objectives to people, and then 1 year after, we assess the objectives, and we take a bonus. Engagement 0. There's another way to do, which is, hey, guy, you know these are the company's objectives. Can you think about your own objectives, and you come back to see me next week with a proposition of your objectives. And in 1 year, you will assess yourself first, and then we meet, etc., etc. That's just a short example to show that in one case, you create disengagement or passivity. In another case, you create ownership. And that's a famous ownership you have to create in HR. And why some HR processes fail? Because of the lack of ownership. It's as simple as that. Simple to say, not easy, not simple to do. But it's important to have this in mind. And finally, because you are all HR leaders here, I think you should be also considering you as engaging HR leaders. And what is, for me, an engaging HR leader? I try to work on the model I've designed, and to adapt the engaging model I've designed for HR, the HR profession. I think what's working very well in Asia, that's my experience in Asia, I've been 8 years in Asia now, having managed Asian teams, is that we are usually very good in here, the enabling dimensions. HR processes, transactional processes, top-down, absolutely great, the best in the world. You know, it doesn't work like that in other parts of the world, it's just great. I think, though, there are some other aspects on which you should work a bit more, like, for example, a bit more human interaction, a bit more empathy, getting out of the email system and going, going circulate physically in the company, touch people, speak to people. I know it takes time. It's better to do an email, okay, sometime, but in HR, you have the duty. You have to do that because you create engagement by doing that. If you do emails, you don't create engagement. You create paper. That's what you do. Energetic dimension, the business partner. I think today we say we are business partner. I'm not too sure we are. I think we are business servants. We serve the business. Are we really business partners? Are we strategic partners? Which means, are we able to inspire an HR vision, to challenge the operationals, the managers? And I have to stop, thank you, I know. And this is something you have to work on as well. And in my programs, I also work on that to mentor and to help HR profession to be a better engaging HR leader. And it's completely a complement to the rest. I think it's a holistic view on engagement. You cannot work on engagement if you don't take it in all aspects. The individual, again, the different actors, the employee experience platform, the HR processes, and that's more or less the messages I wanted to share with you today, in my time, I think. Thank you.
Mic me up. Oh, thank you so much, mate. Come over here. Come up here for a few moments. You know, your work, come up here. It's such a pleasure to have you here speaking at this year's summit, because I've been looking at what you've been doing for a while, and you know, you're very active in HR and L&D. How many of you are specifically active in HR and L&D? Who's my human resources and L&D professionals? Where are you at? Who's right here? All right. Afterwards, come up and connect with him, because he's got a really good game plan, strategic plan. He's doing a great job. Bernard, big hand this morning, our third speaker for 2017. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll be around, no worries whatsoever.